If you're in your 20s feeling lost, broke, aimless, or behind, your 30s, 40s, and 50s won't magically be better because life doesn't change unless you do. And in today's video, I'm breaking down the exact things you need to fix to completely change your direction. The fastest way to actually destroy your potential is basically just staying in the wrong environment. And that's why the first step you need to take is to fix your environment. Most people underestimate how deeply their environments shape their identity. If you grow up seeing wealth, then success becomes normal. But then if you grow up around chaos, then instability becomes your baseline. Imagine you grew up in a household where your dad was such a drunk and all he'd do most of the time was go out, come back late at night, party, get drunk with his friends, and only to come home and beat your mom for some unnecessary reasons. Now, your sisters have always been there when he's beating up your mom. Do you not think that if they continue to grow up in that kind of environment, that's going to be their perception about marriage? Our environment basically has a strong chokehold on most of us, and we don't even know this. I would never have found trading if I never changed my environment. I would have followed the exact same path that everyone else was following. Partying, drinking, cultism, chasing girls, and just basically walking myself down pathways that wouldn't have been beneficial to me in any way. Now, the key lesson here is you don't rise to the level of your potential, you fall to the level of your environment. Now, one of, if not the biggest problems with most people in their 20s is the lack of clarity. And funny enough, the people who are supposed to guide you have also failed themselves. I'm talking about your parents, your uncles, and your big cousins. They've all failed themselves. Even a lot of people around you have failed themselves. The problem most of the time is most people don't actually know the life they want. They just repeat the exact same bullshit their parents or their uncles actually told them. Go to school, find a job, and keep living miserably for the rest of your life, just like everyone else around you. And that brings me to the next thing that's actually going to change the direction you're headed in life. And that is know the life you want and choose the right vehicle that's going to get you there. If you look at the things a lot of people do and the things so many people say that is the life they want and the things they're actually doing to get the life they want, you're actually going to notice that so many people are struggling with something called cognitive dissonance. If you look at a lot of people, right, if you look at the life they say they want and the things they're actually doing to get the life they want, you'll actually see that at some point in everyone's life, they're suffering from what I call cognitive dissonance. And that is basically a lack of congruity between what someone knows and how they feel, right? If you ask a lot of people, what kind of cars do you want to drive? They'll tell you the Lambos, they want the mansions, they want to go on vacations, they want to have a lot of kids and be able to take care of them. But if you basically want that life, then listening to your parents is not going to get you there. The mansions, the cars are not going to come by you basically working a 9-to-5 job, which is what your parents told you to do. Go to school, get a safe job, get job security. How do you expect yourself to drive a Lamborghini by working a 9-to-5 job? A normal 9-to-5 won't necessarily take you there. You need a skill, a high income skill to get you exactly where you need to be. Something you can scale, something you can control, and something that is not directly tied to you exchanging your time directly for money. Before I basically found trading, I was fixing phones. I think in the first video I uploaded, I talked about how I started fixing phones before the age of 10. And after that, I learned video editing. That was about 3 years ago when I wanted to start this channel. And funny enough, I've been able to build a business around a skill that I never even thought was going to put food on my table, right? But the thing here is every new skill becomes a stepping stone for you as you progress through life. Because for you to get to that level you want to get you, what you need is a skill. And that skill is going to help you run a business properly, which is basically going to give you the life you want. Here's the thing a lot of people need to understand. If you want to make money, basically, then solve a problem. If you want to make a lot of money, solve a very, very huge problems. But if you want to make so much money, you basically need to solve a huge problem by creating a huge solution. That's basically how money works. The money you're going to earn in life is in direct correlation with the need for what you do and basically how difficult it is for people to replace you. think about your 9 to 5. Every year you have lots of graduates from school. And how difficult is it to replace you at your job? Just not so difficult. I used to work a full-time job where the CEO told me if I dip my hands in a bucket of water and bring out my hands, the droplets that's going to be left on my finger, that's how little it's going to be. That's how little the impact of me leaving the company is going to be. Nobody cares about you, man. No one cares about you working a 9 to 5 job. You show up to a building you hate, sit in front of the computer, and you basically think you have job security. No, you don't. What you basically need is a skill, build a business that gives you a lot of income, and that leads you to the life of freedom. Now, the key lesson here is pick the life you want first and choose the right vehicle that can get you there. A lot of people in their 20s are just hustling backwards, and even in their 30s, 40s, and 50s right now, they're basically just still doing the same thing, hustling backwards. They chase distractions instead of skills. They chase validation instead of purpose. The truth here is, if you chase women, status, or vibes, you're basically just going to lose everything. You chase women, status, and vibes, you're going to lose money. But if you chase purpose, money, and discipline, then everything just naturally comes to you by itself. It's about creating the right environment for it to thrive. Think about it this way. Ice cream is stored in a freezer. And basically, you don't store ice cream anywhere else. Why? Because the refrigerator, the freezer, creates the right atmospheric condition for ice cream to be stored. That is basically the same thing with money, girls, and every other thing. If you stack your skills, you build discipline, you chase money, then by extension, you're going to create an environment that attracts a lot of success, attracts a lot of girls, and basically a bunch of other things and the life you want. The thing here is, I'm not trying to sound red pill or something, right? But the truth here is, the beautiful girls are just not going anywhere, my bro. The beautiful girls are not going anywhere, and even as a man, you have more value when you get older. Like, if you're in your 20s right now, most of the girls in your age group are not interested in you, because first of all, women are hypergamous. That's to say, they only date up, they don't like to date down and stuff like that. And in your 20s, really, you don't have a lot of resources, you don't have a lot of experience, you don't have that leadership as a man to basically lead a woman. But a man that's in his late 20s, in his 30s, basically, that has gone through life, gained some experience, he's going to be the portal through which a girl will explore the world. So focus on actually using your 20s as a stepping stone to get you to the life you want in your 30s, and there and then you're able to attract every kind of woman you're interested in. Stop taking a bunch of advice from people who are telling you your 20s are for you to live the life you want and stuff like that, which brings me on to the next thing you need to fix, which is do not take advice from people who don't have the life you want. Basically, don't listen to your parents if they don't have the life you want. Now, let's be clear. Your parents actually love you. You're their son, they want you to succeed and stuff like that. But that doesn't actually mean they understand the life you want. Because the truth here is, if someone doesn't have the life you want, then you basically shouldn't take advice from them. Honestly, if right now I do not have the life you aspire to live, you should click off this video and probably not listen to any advice from me. Because when you're going to buy jewelry, why should you take an advice from a shoemaker? He has no idea what it means to craft the perfect piece of emerald, sit it perfectly, and stuff like that. He has no fucking idea. Why would you listen to him? It's very okay for you to respect people, your mom, your dad, your uncles, but choose your mentor not based on their age, but based on their outcomes. Because honestly, fools grow old, to be very honest with you. And the thing here is, if I wanted to start a business and my parents don't know anything about business, they're working a 9 to 5, you have no business asking your parents for business advice. In fact, don't tell people around you your dreams. They're actually going to kill your dreams. Imagine if no one in your family has seen $1 million and you're there talking about how you're going to make $1 million. They're just going to shut you out. They're just going to kill your dreams. Those dreams are yours. There's a reason why God put those things in your head. It's not for you to share them with a bunch of people who don't have large visions, because sometimes ambitions actually exist for you, but your environment, the people around you, will not demand it. Another reason why you shouldn't basically listen to your parents friends or people around you is because wealth creation methods actually change. There are lots of you that have gone to school to study a bunch of courses and only for you to now be replaced by AI. Yes, your parents want bragging rights, they sent you to school. They just want to sit and talk to their friends about how their son or their daughter is studying mass comm in, or let's say studying marketing or design in school, and only for me to use a bunch of AI tools and generate that same design in a bunch of minutes. It's just ludicrous. You need to strategically position yourself for the future, okay? And I'll give you an example. 3 years ago, in fact 2 years ago, in fact a year ago, the creator economy is not as big as it is right now. 3 years ago, content wasn't really a thing. Video editing wasn't something someone would pay a lot of money for. But right now, if you're a very good video editor, you're basically in demand, okay? And the truth here is that 5 years ago, if I hadn't discovered trading, then I probably would, maybe if I didn't discover trading, if I didn't discover trading, I wonder what I'll be doing with my life, working at a 9 to 5. Because what made me discover video editing is because I was already into trading and I wanted to build my online presence and start making content. And I couldn't hire a video editor at the time because I just started and I just started seeing some signs of progress. And so I had to learn how to start editing videos. And before you know, I edit videos, people see it and they say it's nice and stuff like that. And I still edit videos till today, okay? Because trading is not something, it's not as rosy as a lot of people are painting it online. You don't really get to make those millions and billions, especially when you don't have a lot of capital. So I still do my video editing business on the side. In fact, some of the videos on my channel, I edit them myself. I have a bunch of editors I actually work with and stuff, but skill stacking is what actually gets you there. You need to be able to position yourself for the future. The people who started learning about AI a few years ago, few years into the future, they're going to be the ones. The people who went to school 4 years ago, studied a bunch of courses, and now it's not like they're necessarily going to be replaced by AI. The thing there is, AI is not the one you should fear, basically. It is the guy that knows how to use AI that's going to replace you. Honestly, if you're a video editor, you don't know how to use Nano Banana, you don't know how to use Sora, Gemini, and all these other AI platforms, then your work is not just going to stand out. You're just going to be like a bunch of every other average video editor that's out there. So you need to position yourself for the future. Some of your parents don't know anything about that. The only thing they know is 9 to 5s. Some of your uncles. So basically, don't listen to them. Some of them will probably call AI evil. They would say it's an agenda from the pit of hell, but I mean, that's on that. At the end of the day, the key lesson here is follow results, not opinions, and do not choose your mentors based off age. Choose your mentors based off outcomes. Talking about 9 to 5s, the next thing you basically need to do, or one of the things you basically need to do, is to get a job even if you don't want one. If you are in your 20s right now and you aspire to get a job, to build a business one day, own a business, run a business, then getting a job in your 20s is actually one of the smartest things you can do. In your 20s, I said, not in your late 40s and 50s. And the reason for that is jobs teach you how a real reason, and the reason for that is basically jobs teach you how a real business actually works. Because when you work inside of a company, you get to see and understand the structure. You get to understand sales structure, marketing structure. I worked in a company before because when I at some point in my life, I think I lost everything in trading and I needed to get back on my feet. So I offered my editing skills as a job to be able to save some money to get a funded account and fund my trading account. I worked a full-time job basically, and I got to understand sales and marketing structure. I got to understand how to build a personal brand. I got to understand social media marketing and stuff like that. These are some of the things you don't get to experience if you don't work a full-time job. Even if you get to experience them, but working on a job makes you see how, the CEO handles problems and stuff. Because there was a meeting we usually hold every Mondays. Everyone was so scared of attending that meeting because it's like a period where the CEO is just roasting everyone. But I loved it because I basically saw how he was reiterating strategies. If something we're implementing on this business isn't actually working, you see how he quickly switches that and just makes a bunch of changes that gave me the sort of experience that I needed. And you basically get to understand sales psychology, customer journey, funnels, content strategy, and stuff like that. There's some benefit to basically working at a job. It depends. You need to work at a job that actually makes you improve. You don't want to go and be doing things like front desk. Just sit, not even front desk. Like, they're basically jobs that don't force you into being outside your comfort zone. Like digital marketing did. Even being a customer service rep teaches you how to handle objections, talk to people, basically teaches you how to interact with people. Another thing I love about working a 9 to 5 is that it shows you the dark side of working a 9 to 5. Like, when you actually get to feel what it's like to depend on a paycheck, to feel replaceable, to be able to see that a job is not scalable. You get to see that. And most of the time, I think about it this way. I tell people who go to work every single day, you guys are trying. Because think about it this way. If your resumption time is 9 o'clock, you don't wake up by 9 o'clock and get a job. You probably need to wake up by 6:30 or 7. Get ready. You're going to spend about an hour plus hopping from taxi to taxi. You finally get to work at 8 or 9. You're already tired. You go through the stress. You get off work at 6. You're not going to get home by 6. Probably going to spend the next 2 hours on the road trying to get home. I mean, that's just, I can't really wrap my head around doing all that for 30, 40, 50 years and only to retire, to pensions and a bunch of stuff like that. Just imagine showing up to a job you hate and receiving peanuts at the end of the month while you actually see the owner of the business actually making millions. That was actually what made me want to start my own business. Like, I was basically seeing the back end as a digital marketer, seeing how much traffic we was generating. But at the end of the day, I don't even get paid 100,000 bucks, 100,000 naira and stuff. So I was just frustrating and stuff. But it basically just lights that fire inside you and makes you want to build your own business or build a skill that will give you the life you want. And jobs also teach discipline. They teach you structure and responsibility. Even if a job isn't your dream, it teaches you how to show up on time, how to communicate with people, how to solve problems, take responsibility and stuff like that. Because these are actually the exact traits you need as an entrepreneur, as a CEO. Like me right now, I know a lot of stuff. I know about marketing. I know about graphic design, video editing. Like there's just hardly anything that I don't know that has not helped my business in a way. Even just knowing about social media and stuff, content research, the kind of things you need to do, the kind of videos I need to make to attract the right viewers on my page. I have a very clear understanding about that, and you get to understand and learn that from working a job. Now, the key lesson here is a 9 to 5 doesn't have to be your destiny, but it can be the training ground that actually prepares you for the life you want. Now, it's important for you to, as you're working, you need to set a goal for yourself. And that actually brings me to the next thing I think you need to do, which is to set goals that scare you and learn to weaponize time. Most people don't actually reach their potential because they set goals that are too small to wake them up and too comfortable to change them. Because the truth is, regular goals do not move you. Scary goals actually do. Because people love setting goals, but they end up setting goals that they can achieve without so much pressure. You see people set a bunch of goals like, I want to make money, I want to get more discipline, get a better life. That is not actually a clear goal. You need to set a goal that's going to frustrate you, put you under the bus, put you under a lot of pressure. That's the kind of goal that actually forces you. The kind of goal that actually forces you outside of your comfort zone. Because if you think about it, right, a lot of people sit down and say, I want to be a top 1% man, but a bunch of you do not have an idea of what it's like to be a top 1% man. Because so many of you right now, if I handed the life of a top 1% man to you, you're basically going to reject it. I'm not even as serious as a lot of people, but if I walk you through my weekly routine, a lot of people are just not going to handle it. I go to sleep at the same time every day and wake up at the same time. Whether or not I'm stressed, whether or not I feel like I just have to wake up. Because being a top 1% man means this. Let's even talk about being a top 10% man. Being a top 10% man means if I put you in a room with 100 people, you should beat at least 91% of everyone in the room. Being a top 1% man means if I put you in a room with 1,000 people, you need to beat everyone. Not almost beat everyone, you need to beat every motherfucker in that room. Being a top 0.1% man simply means if I put you in a stadium, if I put you with thousands of people, you're going to beat every single person. And your competition is mostly not people going to clubs and stuff. It is people like us who are ready to spend a whole day recording 50, 80, 100 pieces of content, who are always researching, who are always optimizing their strategy. Your competition is basically the people watching this video because they want a better life. It is not those people hustling backward, getting the best girls. You know, if you think about games, a lot of you play games, you play GTA. You upgrade your character, get the best guns and stuff like that. Why are you not playing GTA with your life? Why do you just not want to be the optimal premium man, the ideal man that everyone wants to be like? Why? The truth here is, if your goals don't actually scare you, then you need to change your goals. But setting a goal isn't really actually enough, because a goal without a deadline is just a dream. Even a goal that is very scary, even a goal that pushes you outside of your comfort zone, if you have a goal but do not set a target for you to achieve the goal, then it's just like a dream, because deadline turns pressure into progress. If I say I need to record 5 pieces of content in the next 2 hours, I put myself under pressure to make sure that I record that video. A deadline basically allows you to show up, because if, for example, in a week I said I'm going to make 3 YouTube videos, and by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I haven't made those videos, and it's getting to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm basically under pressure because I've entered into a commitment with myself to make that piece of content. Now, another thing you need to understand is, once you set a goal for yourself, I needed to check if the camera was still recording because I'm recording alone today. Once you set a goal for yourself, you need to learn to weaponize time, and don't let time weaponize you. Now, the truth here is, a lot of people don't fail because they're actually lazy, but it's because they lack control over their time. That's one of the major reasons of failure, right? Everyone wakes up and instantly falls into the trap of scrolling. I need you to shock yourself today. Like, go into your settings and check your screen time. Check how much time you're actually spending on your social media apps. You're going to see how doomed you are, because in reality, so many people think they need to wake up and do more. There was something Chris Williamson said. He said, waking up to do the thing does not get the thing done. Writing the thing in your to-do list does not actually get the thing done. I wrote it in my schedule for today that I was going to make the video, but that doesn't get the video done, But building systems and actually showing up to record the video in and of itself, that is what actually gets the video done. You're not making progress in life, and it's not because you need to plan to do more. You need to get a lot of shit done. Every waking hour of my day has purpose, basically, from when I sleep to my first waking hour to every single block of work that I do. Everything is basically just systemized. The key lesson here is, you can't improve what you can't measure, and you can't measure what you don't track. You need to wake up today and say, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do content research. Or if you're a trader, you want to say from 10 to 12, I want to just for every hour of the day, you need to set a goal. Set a task, inches you a step closer to your goals, because you need to break your goals into daily tasks, learn to weaponize time. Because honestly, I tell you something, especially in your 20s, the time you lose in your 20s is a currency that you're just never going to get back. You're never ever going to get that time back. So you need to set a goal that scares you and give yourself a deadline, basically, to achieve those goals. Now, the last thing you want to take advantage of, or the last thing you want to take note of, is self-actualization and becoming the person you want. Because everything I've talked about before now leads to just one thing, which is self-actualization. And that simply means becoming the highest version of yourself possible. The version of you that isn't controlled by fear, distraction, and your environment, but by purpose. And I'm going to break it down into 3 relatable lines for you. Now, self-actualization is actually when your habits match your goals, when there's some level of congruity between the things you wake up to do every day and your goals. So, for example, I want to be a profitable trader. I don't wake up in the morning and start scrolling online, doom scrolling. No, I pick up my notes, open up the charts, and start backtesting. That's a level of self-actualization. It's like it's not about vibes and talk. It's when your daily life starts to look like the future that you're actually trying to build. Now, secondly, is when you stop chasing validation and start to chase mastery. Now, mastery is a skill that's underrated by so many. I've seen a ton of you, right? You dedicate a few hours into learning a craft and expect yourself to be exceptionally good at it. But I tell you what, for the less the skill has accepted you as its master, you're basically yet to master a craft. And mastery only happens when you have total control of your environment. I'm not saying some of it. Total control of your environment, your time, your mindset, is about making your goals attainable and not philosophical. Now, here's the truth nobody tells you. You can't self-actualize in a toxic environment. You can basically work hard, you can set goals, you can create routines, but if your environment is destroying your focus, your confidence, and your discipline, then you're not going to make any measurable progress. You're not going to see any substantial achievement. So the thing here is, if you're serious about operating in your 20s and making the most out of 20s, you need to fix the environment you actually operate from. And I made a full video that talks about a full video that talks about how to fix your environment. So you want to check that video out.